additional questions for either George or any of the models, we'll be able to open up for questions as well. Sound good? All right, and we like participation, so just first, it's Sunday, so we can get a little churchy if we want to. We can hallelujah and amen and jump in whenever we need to. But I would like to start by first introducing the artist, the man of the hour, George Jennings. The reason we are here this afternoon, and George is of course sitting next to his lovely wife, Nikisa Frazier Jennings, who has been a huge asset in putting this exhibit together as well. And so we're going to hear from them about how all this came together. We're going to talk about the themes of the exhibit, the inspiration behind it, some of George's family legacy that really inspired this work. So we're going to talk about all the things and get all into it. So let's just jump right in, George. And actually, no, I'm skipping a piece. Let me have Nikisa introduce the panel. Because she invited these models. She played a huge role in inviting the majority of the models to participate in this work. So I'm going to have Nikisa introduce the models, and then we'll talk to George.
Thank you, Jazmyn. Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay. So, as we'll talk about more later in our conversation, all of these models are people who are very important to George and I, and who we have known for a long time. So, when I do my introduction of them, that'll be great. So this is my sister, Shalika Martin, and she is also an artist, a director, and one of the models, of course, of two pieces in this exhibit. My other sister, Kiana Wheeler, she is a dynamic social, what do I want to say? Social justice advocate, that's where I was going with that. And a model and all around amazing person as well. And then Esther is a visual artist and one of the models in the show. Also, I didn't do their whole bio, but this is the way that I know them all.
Well, you'll learn more about these women as well. This is a panel of dynamic individuals who all contribute to our community in one way or another. And I think that is an important piece of why they're also included in this work as well. So George, let's just jump right into it and share with us the inspiration behind the women, the paper, and the light, and what story you were hoping to tell through this collection of work, which is growing.
We have women to do something on the show today. This was a show that my wife and I talked about years ago for a different venue, but that fell through. And initially, this was going to be women of color, majority Black women, and discussing things with my wife, she decided that this show should be just representing Black women. Because it was needed, as we can see from 2 weeks ago. So then we began to try to find models. We held a show at the Weinstein Hughes Theater. At that time, we asked models to come and we fly around. And that's what we started building up lots of the show. Most of the people everyone except for that came there are people that we personally know. Most of them are all Black friends and family friends and people who've been with us through our journey. The that comes along with making the decision to do this digital art instead of traditional art. A few years ago, I made a decision to switch from traditional art, the usual paints and acrylics and oils, and to do this with digital art. You know, watching a lot of YouTube videos of artists, you get to see what's called sweet videos, which are just time-lapse videos of the person creating the artwork. And to see what you can do with the new medium, to me it was more of an evolution instead of a revolution. Virtually everything you see now, movie posters, anything on a magazine, it's all created through digital art. There's virtually no one like traditional art when it comes to a commercial medium. So I took the time. I had friends who worked in the gaming industry, also a friend who artist also did photo retouching. So I got to learn Photoshop because the majority of the artists, other professionals, are using Photoshop to do their digital artwork. I have another friend who, you know, hit me onto the use of iPad. The initial cost to get to digital art at that time was pretty expensive. It was $800 for Photoshop. Using a digital pen and computer was, you know, I don't know reach at the time, but the iPad wasn't. And this whole show was done on an iPad.
Wow.
To be able to carry your complete studio with you wherever you go. So the majority of this show wasn't done in the studio or at home, it was done in the vehicle. Whenever I had time, 15 minutes here, 20 minutes here. If I was lucky, I got to spend 12, 13, maybe 16 hours on a Saturday to work on a piece. The other than that was done wherever I could do it. The things that you can do with this to me is unbelievable. People have asked me if my grandfather would do it if he was here now. And they said he probably would have, he would have jumped on this. To be able to sit there, his easy boy, and work on some art. And to emulate, you know, any type of art, to just do whatever you want, come up with, to instantly change something, change the background, to just move on something. That's why.
Nice. And then you talked about how the majority of the models were either friends of the piece or family members. Were there any specific traits or just things about each of the models that stood out and shaped how you captured them for the portraits? Because these aren't, I think one thing that wasn't mentioned is that these aren't photographs, and so he took photographs of them, but these depictions are not the exact photograph, and so he pulled different things out. Were there just things that stood out about each individual that you wanted to pull out? I looked at Kiana and like the glasses. You always have some fly glasses, so it's some things like that.
Right, Kiana, I don't know, I just say I'm adjacent to most of them in my life. So I don't know them, you know, I'm not long-term friends with them, but, you know, Kiana has an intense personality, and I was hoping to bring that out in her piece there. Each piece is just to reflect the humanity of everyone. A lot of them are contemplative pieces, just having a moment to reflect upon things, and I try to bring those out in pieces. And as far as picking the models, it was whoever wanted to be a part of the show. And whoever, if I could take the photos myself, so I was simple enough of everyone at the time.
Thinking about some of them that are here, so like you said, included Shalika, Esther, what were some of the things when you were creating their portraits that stood out in relationship to the things that you understand about their personalities?
Like I said before, really don't know their personalities that much. It was mostly to capture their beauty, their intelligence, and be respectful of that. I'm a big fan of Japanese anime and stuff like that, so I really had to pull myself back to use the pieces and be able to keep it that way.
Yes. And then you mentioned your grandfather, so his work is heavily focused on documenting Black family life, particularly the women in his family, your mother, your grandmother. How does his legacy influence your approach as an artist?
You know, growing up, I was very fortunate
and then there's over 300 pieces of your grandfather's work preserved in your family, and then also displayed in major museums, which in the Smithsonian, and you can tell us some of the other spaces that your grandfather's work is showcased. But how does the dual legacy of the private and public, you have the things that he only shared kind of within your family homes, and then the things that are on display in these major institutions, how does that shape your understanding of your family's artistic contributions?
I really can't say that's up to society to say. My grandmother, much like myself, created art for the love of creating art. It wasn't a promotional thing or seeking recognition from anyone, really. It was just for the love of art itself. This artwork is displayed in the Smithsonian, the Gallery of Art, the Metropolitan Art, Modern Art, so many places. We're just finding out a lot of times online that something's been sold to there, or we've been contacted by the Birmingham Museum of Art, who has a piece of theirs. We don't know how we got that, that sort of thing. And now they're interested in art. Most of them know why. This show would not be here for my life. And, finding models, finding venues, the people she met, and just her promotion of my art.
Well, and before I jump to the hearing from the models too, one thing that I just know personally about you guys, which is similar to what I've learned about your grandfather, is that you kind of developed your abilities, if that's the correct word, as far as creating portraits based on having, your relationship with your wife and being able to use her as your model for years, and really being able to kind of work out your artistry on her. Has there been, you gave her a lot of credit for, obviously, yes, like, we're all friends, and we're in here, but how has being able to just have that relationship that you have with her and be able to utilize her as a model, has that had any influence? Did that play any, obviously she's here, representing the exhibit, but how did that have any influence on how you thought about how you were doing everyone else's work too?
I guess I'll go back to my grandfather painted pictures of my grandmother and the other women. It's hard to say. It was, like I said, having a model with her. Even today, I'll run up with the iPhone while she's washing dishes or doing whatever. Oh, you want to do this shot? And using a painting which that one came from. So that was a good house model, which is a luxury. So.
It's nice to have inspiration that's with you
Exactly.
all right when you wake up and when you go to bed. That's a beautiful thing. All right, so I want to hear from the models. One thing that I've been curious about is how you felt when you first saw your completed portrait. And you think about what was your reaction? What was that feeling? And anybody can go first. What did you feel when you saw your piece fully done for the first time?
Well, I was in an interesting position regarding being able to see my pieces for the first time, because Guilty Party was made these prints of them, and I was amazed. Yeah, I just kind of didn't know what to think. And you made the comment that you really don't know the models and don't know much about their personalities, but it seems that you did somehow capture my personality.
Stunning.
You were
one. And then I bought you for my mother. I bought you for my mother because she was very similar to me, and it was just so beautiful. The depth of color that you used to like represent just thoroughness of blackness. It was just stunning. So I had a picture of my wall. I'm saving my ducats for your original. I know exactly where I would put it. No, but I can make them. I really, when I first saw mine, I was like, why I gotta be the only one black? Like everybody was so colorful and rich and vibrant and what? And I was also stunned because we had come to pick up. I'm an avid collector of this one. I am trying to figure out the rest of the places to put the other ones because we just moved. We were coming to pick up. I had been paying on an original that my husband fell in love with. Matter of fact, her being a muse, I have so many of the keys on my wall. When I shared with my husband the website, I was like, how did I 8, 10 years? I shared the website. It was like this one. I was like, that's the Kisa. And he was like, oh, no, the Kisa. I want that one. And so that was my grade. And we started there and just kept collecting. And there's so many. And I was coming to pick up the original that I finally paid off. He didn't know what was happening. He just thought I was picking up another one. And so he got it there. It was all teared up and everything. And George was like, let me take a picture. I was like, no, not right now. And I wasn't even shaved up. Like I was like, I think the sweater I was wearing that day, because you can, I've seen the original. I gave that away because it was like I just didn't look good. And those glasses were black. And so blown away with what you can do. I was like, I need to own those ones. I need those. My mother says it doesn't look like me, and then you sent the picture side by side, and I was like, that's me. But it was just so beautiful, and I just remember telling him, he said it feels weird to be on people's wall, and he was like, no, it doesn't. And I was like, that's right. That's right, match you all over. So it's just so amazing. And I'm just blown away and humbled to even be seen in paper and not as a model, and just gorgeous.
I really, I'm gonna let you stop. But one thing that I really love about yours, Kiana, I would have that same reaction. Why am I black and white? But not only the glasses that he designed, and George, one thing about George with all these pieces is like he designed these accessories. These are creations of George's, of his mind. So these aren't things that people had on when they took their pictures. So like Kiana said, the glasses she had on were black. And so what you see in the portrait is something out of George's mind. But one thing that I really love about yours, Kiana, is that your eyes are very present in that piece. So without knowing you, I'm just like, there's something deep about this system right here. You're just, it's so beautiful. And so one thing that when I look around at all these, I'm looking at like, what are the things that are speaking to me? How are these women speaking to me through their pieces? And it was you're speaking through your eyes, and that so so good. Shalika, what about you? What were your first reaction?
First of all, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be a part of such an important and impactful exhibit. And thank you, host Jazz, my sister. It was probably, I don't know if it was different, but I would just say that it brought up a lot of trauma. I would say that because having to look at myself, I don't take a lot of pictures. It's not often. And I realized that I never seen myself as beautiful because of what others kind of portray you as. You can be told by your parents, you can be told by other people that look like you, but when when you grow up in a predominantly white neighborhood and you don't see people that look like you, and you see yourself, you kind of compare. And even in my big old age, I'm still working through some of those things. So when I finally saw the final pieces, I was like, "What's that happening? Let me kind of break down how this is making me feel." But at the end, I realized, I was like, yes, I am beautiful. Yes, my people are gorgeous. Yes, I love my lips. Yes, I love my complexion. Yes, I love my hair. And it's all natural state, and I really appreciate that you were able to bring that side out of me. I don't think that you or Nikisa knew what that would do to someone like myself that doesn't get to see the reflection of her often. So it was a beautiful thing, and I really appreciate it.
That actually, you lead right into my next question. So you may have answered it, but the question is, did seeing yourself through George's eyes shift how you view your own image or identity? I think you spoke really well to that because it was like, oh, this really is me. What about you, Kim, and Esther?
I'm just struck by, that is exactly why I wanted on my mother's wall, is the beauty that just was so rich and powerful coming from your photos. Repeat the question for me again, did I?
So, seeing yourself through George's eyes, did that shift how you view your own image or identity?
I like that question. I'm chewing on that question. I can say that immediately I felt disconnected from it and was like, but that's art. I also saw some of the other play with things that were early on. And George took many angles. And so I never liked my face on photo. It is now on my wall behind me in my Zoom meetings. Because I was like, yes, say that. That's me. You should go to this website, George's Philly. But I felt like I didn't see me so intensely. And I would say that everybody that knows me would say that they do. So just, yeah, I love it. It feels like art to me. I feel like, why did somebody put me on their wall? It's so weird. It's not at all. At all. And I just have to say it to myself a lot. But I think it's beautiful, and I am amazed what happens in here when you see the world. Yeah.
Any processes? As an artist too, I'm curious, because you are an artist, you do an artist. Is there any, did you have any thoughts around what it was like to be portrayed, see through George's eyes? Was there anything that felt different?
I was a little surprised by Chloe's eyes. But then I thought, no, I do live a lot inside of my own head and my own vision, and sometimes it's kind of hard to bring me out into the world, right? So it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, I think the closed eyes do kind of, they do reflect me as a whole. It's like, just don't bother
and I, over 28 years ago, had a plan to get his work out into the world. And so I played many roles, you know, in what we were planning to do in the background. And I consider, you know, being one of the models, being part of the background as well. So I just would, like he said, he would just take pictures, you know, randomly. Sometimes we set up like a little mini studio in the house when we get the best lighting or whatever. But I looked at that very much as a job, or part of, you know, one of the jobs that I needed to do for, you know, our goal of getting his work out there. And this time, I was able to just stop and kind of look like, oh my goodness. And especially with the elements that he added, like you said, designing, you know, earrings and, you know, other elements. And also being a part of the show with so many of my sisters and relatives. It just was a different experience for me, a deeper experience, and I tried to consciously also take the time, like once it hit me, I was like, let me just, I walked in there, I don't know, like 10 times just to soak it all in, because so much of it is, you know, work. But yeah, I feel just very connected to everyone, and just the importance of having the show be all Black women.
Yeah, and that really leads to the next question for you all is just, you know, you're on display with other just remarkable Black women, many of whom are in this community. And so what does that feel like to see yourself in this collection surrounded by just a powerful community of women? Yeah, how does it, you're one of many, but we're all important. What does that feel like to just be on display like this in this space like this?
It's certainly humbling, to say the least. And what I'm excited about is a little girl that may not have ever seen herself can look at all of these photos and pick something that's beautiful about each and every one. And that's something to be celebrated. And I'm so excited that I'm excited for our children growing up that there's more of us out there. You don't have to search and dig like it's needle in a haystack. You know, I feel it's accessible, and that makes a big difference from how I was growing up. We didn't have much. And it's very heartfelt for sure. You get kind of emotional, right? Because you go through phases of life and you try to put on these certain facades because people say you should do this, you should look like this. You know, you wear the weaves, or you try to fit in wherever you possibly can with consider their beauty. So when you come to a place of you're enlightened and you go within and you start digging deep and separating yourself from all those things that people say you are, and to be able to look at yourself in this place of acceptance and love, it's an incredible feeling.
One thing that I have been thinking is that George has portrayed all of the models, almost all of the models, in what looks like to be a very contemplative mood. And it speaks to the fact that we as Black people have a lot to consider regarding what we can do, what we are going to go through. And you know, I just that's yeah, I don't know what else I can say.
I love that. I love both of those. I'm so interested in how you both would answer. That also, I also, honestly, to ask that question, was so aware of one person getting this socialization grown up inside the home of what is important, what is beautiful, what is natural, can do this and build places for other people to exist within. Thank you. And it also makes me think about how a number of these artists, the models, that is artist, but a number of the artists would come to your black like luncheons or dinner or whatnot. I used to run to those looking for exactly the community that you speak of, both of you speak of, and it just is. Thank you for building what is to come, for being a part of that, for bridging those places where we didn't have to where they do. Thank you.
I would ask that question too. Is there a sense of connection that any of you feel to other subjects in this work, whether you know them or knew them before this work was mounted? Is there just, I feel like all of your responses kind of speak to a sense of connection. It's like a sisterhood on these walls.
I think about, were they as nervous as I was? And did they really want to say no, but they said yes? Because of Nikisa. So I think about what they were thinking in their mind and what their thought process was after they seen their piece. So to have a conversation with each and every one of them, it's not possible, but to hear how it impacted both of you it makes a lot of sense because I feel like we all had different levels of feeling. It's a process, especially when I love art, I enjoy it, I don't do art for myself, but I enjoy. Am I someone that goes and collect a lot of art? I just collect beautiful things and sometimes it is art. So when you ask the question, do I see and what do I take away from each person? It's just richness and culture, to see everyone in their own individual way. They all have speak volume and there's a message to each and every one.
Yeah, so I talked about, the connection a little bit earlier because I didn't know all of the models, but this was just a
represent ourselves, because throughout history, Black women have been portrayed as servants or things like that. And I was thinking about that last night, and later on, kind of some of the historical examples that I pulled up on the web about Black women being portrayed as servants. And then, interesting, the other thing that I found is that there were two British princesses who were Black. And when they were portrayed, even though the historical accounts about these princesses were, she was brown skin, but they attempted to play down their Black features. And so I have a couple of pictures of these princesses. And one is a princess and one is a queen. So, so it's on us to make sure that our lips and our noses are properly portrayed rather than narrowed down to a semblance of whiteness. And another thing, George's portrayals are brilliant, not only because of his prowess as an artist, but they are brilliant because each individual model sort of has brilliance within her, and it kind of comes out in brilliance in a very nice and royal fashion. It's amazing.
One of the things when you were saying about being portrayed correctly and beautifully in that light is, I ask every single time, Aramis, which one?
That's our.
Yes,
Our.
Ara.
Okay.
My favorite part of Ara is the detail of the grain, like, curls and roots and going into to me, hair has such history of when you start to go gray, like that's a start. It's a start. And the rest of that is the wisdom it took to get that start. And so I love the detail of the going gray and the eyes and the nose with full lips and the full chin. Just being portrayed properly in all its beauty. Air Force and stuff, curl is my favorite part. But before I just get enthralled when as folks talk about, and so I forget what the question was.
Well, actually, we're gonna continue to expand on this representation piece. And I want to share a quote, actually, that was just in one of our recent editorial columns for the ARTE NOIR editorial by Beverly Aarons, who came and did a really amazing, I see some of you shaking your head, we got readers in the room, praise God, praise God. But I want to share a piece of what she wrote in her article about this exhibit, and so we can talk a little bit more about representation. So the quote is, during the 18th and 19th centuries, most Western portraits portrayed Black women as objects, secondary figures who served as accessories to a central white character. In contrast, Jennings disrupts this visual narrative by placing Black women in front and center, sometimes rendering them larger than life and forcing the viewer to confront and reevaluate their own assumptions about who holds significance and power. For Black viewers, Jennings' portrait series, printed on metal, serves as a mirror reflecting back an affirmation of Black womanhood's beauty, importance, and divinity. George Jennings' choice of metal prints is significant because of its reflectivity, durability, and luxuriousness. Each portrait has a shimmery quality to it, creating a celestial aura that makes the subjects appear almost otherworldly and transcendent. The rugged nature of metal ensures that these portraits endure as lasting symbols meant to be appreciated by many generations to come. Right, thank you, Beverly. Because she came in and really sat with this work, and I don't think I've read a better review of an exhibit. It's so on point. And so, you know, a couple questions for everyone, first starting with George, about how intentional were you in using this approach to reframe traditional portraiture, especially given the history of Black women's representation in Western art?
I guess I come from my grandfather. This does not, for me, seem like something that is foreign to me. You know, you grow up seeing that all around you all the time. You see it being created. Washington, D.C. is, I guess at the time, was 86% Black people. So you would spend your entire day in your neighborhood, you never see one white person. So you saw what was around you was being represented. So it's not a stretch for me, speaking as myself, to do this to people like her. Continue his legacy. You know, my grandfather retired as a cook. And when I would speak to my grandmother on the phone, she would have the same question every time I would talk to her. She would ask me, am I still painting? And I hope to get recognition before, you know, you retire. So for me, I'm not really present in the moment a lot because this seems surreal a lot of the time. You know, I'm someone who, I'm a military veteran. I worked at Secret Service for almost 2 years, and I worked as a up now. So to go back and forth between the two worlds sometimes seems, you know, a little weird. And when I'm working on my artwork, will this be taken seriously? And how will we see this? As far as how we see in the future, that's up to the people who write.
And then for models, what does it feel like to be depicted in this way, like Beverly said, larger than life, centered and rendered with such care? Do you see yourself reflected in the affirmation of Black women? And, you know, I feel like we answered that a little bit. But also just a piece about really being centered in care and intention that George put into each portrait and how the portraits were presented. Do you have any additional thoughts about that?
It was certainly a breath of fresh air. You know, Thank you. I would say that it's a breath of fresh air, and what I appreciate in a lot of the photos that we see on the wall is the detail in the hair, because hair is such a huge thing when it comes to our culture, Black culture in particular. To see the different shapes and coils, and you know, when I first saw my photo, I was looking at each hair that was out of place, and it was imperfectly perfect. And now when I do my hair, I had 2-strand twists, and now they locked for a little bit. But I remember having my hair 2-strand twist and always trying to get every little piece of detail and where it needs to be, and to let loose and to be open and see that he captured that. I was like, okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. That is perfectly imperfect. I hope I answered.
I did have a response to what you said, George, about books right is what they'll think in the future, because immediately when you said, will this be received, I was like, if 50 cents anything to say about it, yes. And you were like, will it be, taken seriously, if 50 cents has anything to say about it, yes. And so when you said it's, up to the people who, I was like, not if 50 cents has anything to say about it. And so I love that, because every bit of what is told about the beauty and talents and gifts and all that came from Black. Like we gotta say, we gotta remind you, we said that in the meeting. We gotta say, that was actually my idea first. We gotta say, I was talking to so-and-so in the back room, and I know that he shared it with you, but that was actually what I was bringing forward. And so, Nikki's has always been, and Nikki's has taught me how to say no. And Nikki's also taught me how to say I am or I will, just by being near you. But what I love, and I've always loved about your art, is that it really, I think, captures the people art. I can't say anything else about the nature art. But the people art, like it really captures people like right where we are. As I think this connects to one of the questions before that I was thinking about. As you grow up and get to a certain age, you start saying, was this worth it? Do I want to do more of this? Or like who am I becoming? Or just, usually it's around those grandchildren time. Love the grandkids. Wish for more of those without more of those children involved. But like you start to reflect, and for me, every time I looked at one, it was a reflection of exactly them, right there. Not who they're working to be, or who we once think about we were, or where we're going, and all those questions that plague us, but just who somebody is right there, right in time, in space, perfectly connected to the moment they're supposed to be in, part of this network that you are helping build. You are helping build through a visual representation also. But I love that it's right, just folks right there. We're not anything other but that we exist, we impact, we are beautiful, and we're represented in that ruggedness, not going anywhere to look, that because I hope that that's what we see as well.
So when we spoke on Wednesday, we have a really long meeting, like 3 hours. But when we spoke on Wednesday, I shared with you about how I didn't think my answer about how I felt about being painted for the first time was going to be a great answer, because I did have my portrait painted when I was a teenager. I worked at a art center that had classes there. Mostly the people who were taking those classes were older white people who were retired. And so, number one, it was a job again, right? And also, it was very much like I'm just trying to get this technique down, and I'm trying to paint skin that's not like my own. There was no like real feeling behind it. It almost felt very abstract, and they would say things like, "Oh, wear this next week, wear your hair." Like it wasn't, there was no like feeling or connection to it. So to be part of this show with my sisters, with our natural hair being celebrated by someone who actually loves me, cares about me, loves us, is also something I just really wanted to say. I think it's very important, and I really thought about that even more over the past 5 days.
may be a first time for some of us, who are participants in this work, you know, your first time being, painted and being picked by an artist. You've done it, you know, many times, but it's different. It's different. And it's not just because he's your husband, but because he's a black man who appreciates black women. And I think that that's shown in the way that he's depicted every one of us too. So that's really important. Thank you, George.
Yeah, can comment on similar experiences, because I modeled a lot through graduate and undergraduate school. And in one particular case, the instructor looked at one of the women's paintings and said, "You're not looking at her, this looks like you." Of course, the student she was an older woman also. And yeah, she was pretty upset about it, but you know, that was again, and that particular experience was a little bit uncommon. But you know, it was a case of people not really looking at you for who you are.
So I want to leave a little bit of space for questions from guests, if we have any, but I want to close with some takeaways, just some final thoughts. And George, for you, is there anything that you hope viewers, people that come into ARTE NOIR just on a regular day, might take away from experiencing this collection of work?
I hope that a lot of people will come away with the things that should humanize our life in fiction. I hope they can see the same things that they saw. And I hope people, especially black people, especially young black people, can see that this is something that they're capable of doing also. Something that, you know,
And for models, is there anything that you hope that viewers will learn or feel when they see your portrait or just this work as a whole?
When you were talking about, you know, from a model, I mean, from an artist who knows us, who loves us, I was like, yeah, one of the things that it reminds me of, like, to me, black love is when little kids are oiled up from head to toe. That was like black love to me, and every time I look at these paintings, we look oiled up. We look like somebody got us for that skin, right? And so that's what I hope folks feel is that love, like that we have been loved on like that.
There's so many things that are important about this show for me, playing so many different roles, that it's hard to pick one, but I will try. One thing that I talk about a lot about this show that was very important for me and us is to have a representation of ages all the way, you know, from we have 4-year-olds all the way up to people in their 80s. That 4-year-old has an experience that I think a lot of little black girls don't have. I mean, we touched on that a little bit in this discussion, but not only will she see herself, like we were saying in this show, but she'll see all these other black women and her mom, which is also something that I think is very important. But I want people to, what's important, one of the most important things to me is that we're showing right about women's significance from almost birth through our whole, you know, lifespan. So that's important, a very important part of it.
Okay, that's cool. I don't have anything to add.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Are we good? show you the portrait so people don't think that I'm the one in my AIDS.
Okay, so what I was gonna get to next.
I love that we have
So what I was going to get to next is that this show runs until February 2nd of next year. And throughout the course, actually starting next week, we'll be hanging one new piece a month. George just brought in today the newest edition that will be added, and that gorgeous model is in the room. And you better smile. We're not saying nothing about your age. So, yes, I did that. But George, if you wanna grab the piece, you guys, you all are getting the first glimpse of the newest addition to this work that will be hung and available when we open next week. And this is of Reverend Laverne Hall. Someone near and dear to my heart, certainly. I've known her my whole life. And there she is, and there she is.
Can I say a couple of words?
Yes, I would love for you to.
Number one is that, well, of course, we say thank you to George and Lisa. Very much. And then to my very, very dear friend, Vivian, and you, young lady, for having the foresight, the insight, and the hindsight to dress this corner up, not just this corner, but this community. And we know that community seeds creativity, and creativity grows community. And so, when you walk in that door, when I walked in, well, first of all, I saw some of these online. And what jumped out at me, and what is jumping out at me now, is it is so exciting. It exudes so much energy, and the emotions are rampant. And it's eclectic. And it's like, I don't see how anybody could walk in here and not feel like they want to explode. Absolutely. I mean, it's explosive. It's explosive. And I saw several iterations of this piece. And each iteration, I felt, could stand on its own. Each iteration. And I thought when I saw the first iteration, well, that's me. That's me. And then to see how he was able to blend all of those iterations together. And I know George, I know Lisa, but we've not spent that much time together in conversation with each other. But this man's hands and his heart captured what I thought about myself to a T. And I don't know how he did it. But when I looked at each iteration, as I said, could stand on its own and capture a part of me. Oh yeah. And then when I saw it all together, it was like, that's it. And what I said to you, Nikisa, when I saw it, I said, first of all, I said, wow. And what I meant by wow is that here I am in the midst of wealth, wisdom, and just each one of these meditate with me, which I do a lot of. And then the second thing that I was able to pull out of that was still, S-T-E-A-L. And I know how to steal away when I need to, when I have to, and when I want to, in my own private self, where nobody else can get to it, and I can say what I want to say about anybody in this world. And ain't nobody gonna know about it but me. And then that third word, and then I'll be quiet, my kids tell me I talk too much. But that third word is still, S-T-E-E-L. And don't push my back against the wall, because I'll show you how I can grip you like this, okay? In my stillness, S-T-E-E-L. And everybody in here has it, not just me, not just me. And it's, you know, there's something that they say about ice blue. There's a still quality of ice hardness, but it's also very soft and humbling. And just to be with these ladies here, and I just feel like I know, as an octogenarian, that is very close in pushing the heck out of 90.
Yes.
I just feel like I know every single woman in here. I know you. I may not have ever seen you before, but I do know you, okay? I know you. Yeah, I could go on and on and on and on.
I mean, there's a reason we did this on a Sunday.
I would like to
Say, I is true.
That's what we were in that good reference, so we had.
But it's just so exciting, and it exudes so much energy. It just comes out at you, doesn't it?
Well, you just gave your response, I think, to one of the questions I asked the models too, is your initial feeling in seeing your completed piece and letting us know what feelings are inside of you being depicted and being seen through your
This is the first time I've seen it, but I did see it on the cell phone.
Yeah.
But that's what it did to me, even on the cell phone.
Yeah. Well, do we have any questions or comments from anyone in the audience?
Can we just clap for them?
So, there is something incredibly special about being in this room with these images and with the women whose images are on the walls. For me, as a white person, and knowing that they weren't made for me, you know? They were made for the women that are being portrayed, and they're coming out of your beautiful artistic soul. But I think it's really important for white people to be able to see images like these, because they carry such power. And you know, our society is still really segregated. And it's pretty easy to be white and never really grasp the beauty and power of the women that are portrayed in this room. So I just want to put that out there. Thank you. I feel incredibly honored to be in this room and to know some of these women. Thank you.
Just pass the mic if anybody else has.
there are books of Northwest art and artists. There's yet to be a Northwest African artist or artist of African descent history. And I think Reagan is part of that history. I also think her name is escaping me, the one who did the Beverly Adams is also doing that. You know, we need a whole ecosystem. We need the galleries. You need the people who write about the works. And definitely we need the artists to persist because it's still not easy. And we need to have a place where artists can show what they've been doing. And many of the artists in this room have been working for decades. And so I thank you for this opportunity, for particularly for George to come to fruition. I think it's very special. I'm really proud and happy for you. And my response to the board was just that it was stunning. Just the luminous quality to the board. And of course, to know, not all of them, but to know, to see people in a new light. So, thank you so much.
Well, we're gonna, if you don't want to be put on the spot, you don't have to, but, Nick, Sean, did you?
I have a question, just to overshadow anybody in the audience. Your color palette is beautiful, and I don't need it.
You should use it, it's an accessibility need. It's an accessibility need.
Okay.
Thank you.
When you were picking your colors, did you find yourself gravitating towards orange and blue out of reflex, or was that something that was kind of imposed? Like you would see the color in within the skin itself and then gravitate towards the blues to complement the oranges? Or what was that process like of how you chose your color for the different pieces?
Yeah, because every time I wanted to dip into the color palette or something else, I just wanted to have the cool colors work against the warm colors. So picking black skin tones, the oranges, the browns, the reds, and those sort of things. And then to always put, well, not always, but love putting the reflective light on the blue and the cooler shadows. So that's how it worked out. As I do more pieces, the skin tones get refined. So it'll change, but it'll still be somewhere that same color palette.
Well, we'll close here, and I encourage you, okay. Before we go, I'm sorry, Jazmyn.
So I just feel like I would be remiss without maybe kind of the third person who helped this show even be thought of, and he's in the
Well, this has been a pleasure. Thank you all for spending your Sunday afternoon with us. You don't have to leave. We encourage you to stick around, get to know one another, engage with this art further, meet some of the beautiful models, and just spend some of your afternoon with us if you like. Thank you very much for your support. So many familiar faces I love to see. Thank you for coming back, continuing to come back.